Riittää vähän niin kuin näin juttu.
Yeah, yeah. So they realised actually, I didn't realise.
Kaikki okei.
Hi everybody. Just letting you know that we're going to be starting in a minute, so find your place and we're going to start soon.
What he was saying made total sense to me. I'm a big believer in we have this phrase from English that the devil makes work for idle minds. People are like, they haven't got opportunity to work, they get angry and bad when they give them a chance, opportunity, and things because they're doing something they're much less likely to want to find. Money and things, people get the opportunity to majority of the course comes directly out of the so even those who tried, many of them who previously tried to do have still been recruited. Those years messing around, I think enabled one case which is quite well.
Let's come down and we are ready to start the evening. Hi everybody. My name is Hanna Partanen and I'm the director of Peace Invaders, who is one of the organizers of this event, together with Helsinki Think Company and Stanford Peace Innovation Lab. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the first ever Peacetech Forum. And actually it's pretty cool to see all of you here instead of sitting at home watching ice hockey. Because, you could have said, who cares about world peace, let's watch Finland beat USA. But you are here. And for anybody watching over stream, it's like ice hockey world championships and you shouldn't miss it. But the fact is there's a game that is much more important, and it's called How to Make a More Peaceful World. And all of you are key players in this game. So we're very honored that you chose to come, and we hope that you enjoy this evening. So we're going to start first and give the stage to Microsoft Flux, which is this place, and they were kind enough to host us here, so we're going to hear what they have to say first.
All right, thank you. All right, hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to Microsoft Flux. How many of you have actually been here before? Whoa, nice. So many hands. Okay, I'm not surprised. We usually have around 750 people visiting each week over here, so we do have a lot of the crowd coming in. What is this place for those of you who haven't been here or who want to come here later after this? This is actually a community co-working space. Basically what this means is that we host some startups. We basically host people who are creating something new, and we offer this space completely for free for everybody to use. Doors are open every day from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. And what we basically try to do is to help startups succeed. The whole idea being that when you are starting a new idea, that idea may not be profitable for many years. That idea may not be profitable ever. It may actually change the world, but it may not bring you money. So we want to cater to those ideas, to those opportunities that people want to take. And we offer them this space, we offer them technology, and we guide them through that process. In the space, we basically have 3 people working. We have Oki, who's somewhere around here. You've seen tall fellow. We have Mo, who's our technical evangelist. Okay, there's Oki. Oki is our business evangelist. If you're doing a project and you want to enhance your business idea, Oki is your guy. So we have Mo, who's our technical evangelist, and we have Aga, who's actually running the space day to day. So if you want to organize an event like this, you reach out to Aga or reach out on the site itself. With that, we also host a bunch of community events over here because it's all about the community, and we're trying to match people together so that people can actually learn from other people. We have some experience as Microsoft. We have been in business for a very long time, and we try to spread that knowledge and actually encourage people to do innovative new stuff. That's why the space looks like this, so it would encourage that communication and collaboration. I think that is pretty much all I had. If anybody has any questions, do ask me or track me down later on. My name is Dennis Sepun. I'm a technical evangelist with Microsoft, so I normally do techie stuff, and I'm one of the co-founders here, which has nothing to do with technology, but I kind of like it anyway. With that, in a sense, what we are doing for the community and what we are doing to with the startups, I want to introduce from Aalto Jens Karri to talk about one of the accelerator initiatives that we are taking in the future. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Karri and I'm from Aalto JS, and this summer we're doing a 10-week accelerator program called Kiwas Accelerator. and it couldn't be done without Microsoft's help. Our aim is to guide you from prototype to first paying customers, and due to Microsoft's help, we are able to provide you with great coaches and financial aid up to 4K per team and a free co-working space for the summer. Now the applications, they end today, but we want to show some love towards Microsoft, and we will extend your application period by 48 hours if you write Flux or Microsoft in your application. Thank you.
Hi, so peace technology, Peacetech, what is it? How do we make it? How can we use it to prevent conflicts and build sustainable societies? How can we finance it? And what can we do here in Finland in order to build this industry? These are the questions that we want to discuss tonight. And what is in store? First, we will have a video greeting from Stanford Peace Innovation Lab. And after this, we have a keynote speech from Mr. Pekka Haavisto. After which, we have a panel discussion led by Aabe Pohjavirta with a very cool cast of experts. After which there's Q&A, and all of you can be totally fired up by this point to ask questions. And then we have closing words from Rosa Salmivuori, who's the director of Helsinki Think Company. And then we have networking time and snacks. So let's start first with a video greeting from Mark Nelson, who is the co-director of Stanford Peace Innovation Lab. And very important note in the beginning of the video, don't blink, because otherwise you will miss this guy, Rico, who is one of the organizers also, and he's now working in Stanford. So let's welcome Rico Nyberg and Mark Nelson through the video. And he's now working in Stanford. So let's welcome Rico.
We'll be telling more about the background and what it's about. I hope this will spark a lot of conversation in your end.
This is like 7th time, but we're
I'm Rico, and I'm working at Stanford Peace Innovation Lab. I will be introducing the lab's co-founder, Mark Nelson, who will be telling more about the background and what it's about. I hope this will spark a lot of conversation in your end.
Okay. So, thank you very much for inviting me to speak at the Peacetech Forum. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person, but I'm very glad and honored to be here by video. So we're going to cover very quickly today just a few key things about Peace technology, Peace data, and very specifically, Peace for profit, and that will give you the overview of what Peace innovation is. So because we're a university, I have to first give you the academic definition, but don't worry, it gets better after this. I'm not going to read this out to you, but there are just a few words I want you to really pay attention to here. We do quantitative, predictive, and computational Peace. What that allows us to do is measurably increase positive engagement, and then specifically that allows us to do it at scale. What that allows in terms of outcomes is a primarily preventive strategy that is positive and generative instead of punitive, and it is fundamentally profitable to both sides. And I'll come back to that again and again, because at the underlying structural level, what we really need to do is change the profit motives around Peace, change the market signals around Peace, make Peace something that is, first of all, investable and eventually tradable. That's the only way we're going to make this a sustainable solution in the long run. So now you get the plain English definition. What you have here is Peace innovation is designing technology that increases people's ability to be good to each other. So why should you care about this? You should care because people's ability to create new wealth depends directly on their ability to be good to each other. And why does creating new wealth matter? It matters because people's ability to keep on being good to each other in a sustainable way depends on that being resourced, depends on there being budget and supplies and resources to do that. So if we don't find a way that is actually self-sustaining to create Peace, then Peace will eventually fall apart again. And that's what this approach allows us to address. Peace innovation lets us get a little closer then to, okay, what is Peace technology then? Because the Peace innovation process is a process for designing Peace technology. What you see here is Peace technology is mediating technology that augments people's ability to positively engage with each other, and especially to do that in a way that generates new wealth. The advantage of using technology in this case is we can augment people's ability to be good to each other, A, at scale, and B, we can begin to automate that in interesting ways. If you're trying to do innovation in teams, you actually need people to be as different as possible from each other and still be able to collaborate, still be able to communicate, still be able to engage. It's the differences that drive the creation of innovation, because it's the differences that give people something to learn from each other and something to teach each other. And that's where we get the heart of best innovation outcomes. So there is a direct link between being able to do positive engagement well, that is Peace, and the innovation quality that then enables. And you can get a circular economy, sustainable function out of this. The key thing I want you to see here is that there is a relationship between Peace and the innovation process. The reason this is important is because we are becoming an urban species, and that means in the next 3 decades, between 3 and 5 billion more of us have to learn to get along together in dense urban environments. And one of the things cities are doing is pulling together very diverse groups of people. What getting along better means is we've got to be able to trade better, create and distribute new value better, and be customers for each other and suppliers for each other much more effectively. So why Peace technology? What we have here, because of technology, is solutions that weren't previously possible. Sensors on all these devices that we're carrying around in our pockets, in our cars, those sensors allow us now to detect human behavior in ways we never could before. And a bunch of that human behavior is social behavior. And a bunch of that social behavior crosses difference boundaries. And when you get social behavior from one person to another that crosses some difference boundary, that becomes Peace behavior. And what you see then is we have more and more sensors that can actually detect that kind of Peace behavior and the boundaries it's crossing in real time. That means we can see the state of Peace between any two groups we care about, or between any two individuals we care about, as it's happening. The result of that is essentially we have now the beginning of what for the social sciences is the equivalent of the invention of the microscope for biology. It's a way of making this invisible world of interactions visible so that scientists and researchers can really engage with it. What that means is, since we can measure social behavior, we can begin to design for it. We can design interventions that increase the kind of pro-social behavior we want, and interventions that decrease antisocial behavior. This leads us to our research question. In many other peace initiatives, the fundamental question they're trying to answer is, how do we get people to be less bad to each other? That's very valuable and important work. This is the kind of space that CMI works in Finland. They're going into crisis situations where violent behavior is already happening and looking at how can we reduce that. What this framework and this approach gives them is a way to measure what the levels of violence are, how bad they're getting, build a nice threat detection system, a nice early warning system, and to test all sorts of interventions for conflict reduction technologies, which we view as a different set of technologies, but obviously very important set. They can then track, looking at episodes of negative engagement, did we reduce the negative quality of engagement? Did we reduce the number of those episodes of engagement? And this gives them a way to detect if their interventions are working, how well their interventions are working, how quickly, at what cost, all these other things. So it's an important domain. But if you're looking at it from our perspective, that's not where we work, because people like CMI are already doing great work in that space. We have a different focus. We're focused on how good can people be to each other, and how do we help people design technology that augments their ability to be better to each other in measurable ways. So then you have to ask, okay, how do we measure this? Those sensors can pick up those episodes of engagement between people. And let me give a very concrete example. If you used a ride-sharing service to get from the airport to the conference venue today, I don't know currently what the state of Uber is in Finland, but it's been on and off there. We think of it as a ride-sharing service on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's a peace technology because it can say, at the end of every ride, we can analyze that data and say we measurably increased positive engagement between somebody from this group and that group, and it generated this much new economic wealth in the process. What we're seeing there is episodes of engagement that we can see and record for the first time ever, episodes we can record passively. You're not trying to create peace, you're just trying to get from the airport to the conference. And episodes where we can see the group identities of, in this case, the rider and the passenger. But this pattern holds true across all kinds of technology platforms. What this means is we're living in a new world. In the old world, when we looked at episodes of engagement, we saw some characteristics. People had to be physically present. They had to be fully embodied. They were using all 5 of their senses. People could only interact with each other at the same time, in the same space, and we were dependent on our own memories to remember what happened exactly and how things went down. And only the very broad, basic kinds of group identities were visible. Now, because of technology, the world has changed completely, and what we see is new episodes of engagement are mediated by technology. More and more of our interactions with each other are done via some device in our hand, on our desk, etc. And that means we don't have to be co-located. We can be far away from each other. Those episodes of engagement can be augmented, actually in a very similar way to what's happening right here, right now. I'm able to interact with you across time and across space because of this mediating technology in the middle that is digital video. So the key takeaway here is it's precisely the group differences that used to cause conflict and violence that are now the new raw material for creating wealth in an innovation economy. We need to be able to get people who are different from each other to collaborate together, because those are the people that can give each other new insights, new ideas, and those lead to new products, new services, new businesses, and run through a structured innovation process that keeps everybody safe, allows people to trust each other, so on. Those are actually where you start getting the best innovation results. That allows the creation of wealth for both groups. And at some point then, they become such valuable trading partners for each other that they invest in each other's safety. They can't afford to hurt each other. Not only that, they incentives for investing in each other instead of fighting with each other go up and up, and the incentives for harming each other go down and down. So I hope this sparks some ideas and inspiration for how your organization can measurably increase positive engagement in the world across whatever difference boundaries you care about. And I hope it sparks interesting reevaluations of the data you have in your organization and how that data can be deployed. And last, but of course not least, I hope this inspires some interesting conversations with the rest of the panel. Thank you very much for having me, and I wish you all the best. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, just wait. Is it working? Kuuluuko tää? Ei. Kuuluuko nyt? Ei. Okay, so thank you Stanford for the great lecture. And now I will introduce you to our keynote speaker, Mr. Pekka Haavisto. He is a Finnish MP and special envoy of the Foreign Minister on Peace Building. He is a former party leader of the Finnish Green Party as well as former chairman of the European Greens. He has been minister twice, Environment, Development and State Ownership. Mr. Haavisto established UNEP's post-conflict activities between 1999 and 2006 in the Balkans, Afghanistan, Iraq, Israel, Palestine, Liberia and the Sudan, and worked as the European Union's special representative in Sudan and Darfur between 2005 and 2007. Currently, he is the president of the board in the European Institute of Peace. Mr. Haavisto, welcome.
Thank you. This is very impressive. You are so many, and I don't know to which direction to look, but I will look there. Good to have all you here, and I'm also on the learning side, I think, in this evening's panel. And but I was somehow asked to set the scene and speak a little bit what mediation is today, and maybe what kind of challenges are there. And the more the world is active on the mediation, it seems that the deeper and more difficult conflict we have. Actually, when I was working in Sudan and Darfur, we made this kind of scenario, how many groups are there and how they are interlinked to each other, and it looked quite complicated. But now I met somebody who had done this same with the Syria, with the 36 different groups, and it looked like a spaghetti, much more complicated. And in Darfur, every morning when we woke up, we had to check who is whose friend and who is whose enemy, because they changed sides during the night. During the night, making new coalitions and so forth. And you can understand that the negotiations were extremely difficult. But when we look conflicts like Syria, it's extremely complicated. And what makes it more complicated actually nowadays is the role of the UN, because the UN Security Council is there to being the highest authority for the peace on earth, and of course they should react, they should make decisions, they should make statements and conclusions on different conflicts, but they are paralyzed because we have at least two different narratives currently in the world on many issues, on the east and west, and also on the conflicts. If you look at the Kosovo conflict, no common opinion. If you look at Libya, no common opinion. If you look at Syria, the superpowers are on different sides, and so forth. And this, of course, is paralyzing the UN actually as an actor in many of these issues. And that, in one way, gives room to others, all kinds of coalitions, different settings, like in Syria, the recent Astana meeting, which was somehow out of the UN process and UN mediation, but at the same time, the highest authority is missing, and probably the authority who could really also put some threat to parties if they do not agree or if they do not sit at the negotiation table. And of course, even the threat sometimes is quite weak. In Sudan, we have the arrest warrant for President Bashir still ongoing. I met President Bashir, for example, when the South Sudan independence was declared, and he was standing next to Ban Ki-moon and next to the South Sudan president, Salva Kiir. So actually the only right thing for Ban Ki-moon would have put handcuffs on him and bring him to court, to The Hague, but this didn't happen. They were celebrating together the independence of South Sudan and so forth. So even sometimes we have the lack of this kind of very decisive international authority, particularly when we speak about the rule of law and justice issues and so forth. I've been starting my life in many ways as an environmental and human rights activist and following issues like Tibet and others that have had a very high profile, at least here in Finland, on human rights issues. But I have to say that somehow I have revised maybe particularly the human rights part of my thinking, not in a way that I have been dumping the human rights issue, but I have been becoming more pragmatic. What can we do on these issues? And maybe I take as an example a country that Finland is dealing quite a lot at the moment with, maybe a lot with because others are not dealing at all. And so it looks like we have a high profile, and it's a small country in the Horn of Africa called Eritrea. Eritrea has 3.5 million inhabitants. When the Lampedusa incident at the Mediterranean happened, the first victims, the drowned young people, were from Eritrea. And of course we were actually quite united front in Europe, condemning the human rights violations in Eritrea, condemning the dictatorship of Afewerki, condemning that the country do not have a constitution and so forth. But when these young people were trying to escape from the country and with a very unfortunate fate, of course, in my mind, the first question is, what could we do inside the country? Can we somehow improve